Well, everybody, the Patriots are back. Whether you're happy about it or not, the Patriots now sitting atop the AFC East at 8-4 with their recent win to the Tennessee Titans. Today's video, Cian McDermott, me, Cian McDermott, and my other host, Suraj Kodali, are going to be talking about, are the Patriots contenders? What is their outlook? Are they Super Bowl contenders? And really, arguably, are they the best team in the NFL currently, looking defensively and offensively, how rounded they are, obviously led by rookie Mac Jones. We'll be getting into everything, players, coaches, record, and what we expect for the future. So make sure you guys stay tuned, comment down below, follow us on social media, and make sure to stay tuned for the full video. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, George, I think the really what's the most not funniest thing, but the thing when you look at this Patriots team, this is not necessarily a very talented roster. You're not looking at the Patriots. I mean, you look at especially offensively, rushing yards, rushing leaders, Damian Harris, 643 yards. This guy is not a top running back in the league. And the receiving leader is a guy they brought in off free agency who was the wide receiver 3 in San Francisco, Kendrick Bourne, with 623 yards. And then the second year, Kyle Duggar is their most tackle, their player with the most tackles with 80. And then J.C. Jackson, another incredible interception year with 7, which I didn't even know. But he's been fantastic. And then obviously led by rookie Mac Jones with 2,850 yards. And while we knew this guy was pro ready and would be good, starting obviously going to the Patriots, fantastic organization, he is not necessarily, physically gifted. This is not a quarterback who you're looking at like, wow, this guy is incredible. Like he's Patrick Mahomes, the next best quarterback. But he's good, and he's led them to 8 wins, and obviously off a shaky start. And I'm not sure when we talked about this. We talked about Mac Jones has led a team that should be 4-8. That like the team is roster wise is like 4 wins. They should have 10, but they are 8-4. Like it's been a very interesting season for the Patriots. And Serge, obviously, as a Jets fan in the same division, you guys aren't quite there yet. But Mac Jones and when you look at this Patriots team, is it very, very much you reminisce about that old Tom Brady franchise, and are they back?
I think it's honestly an incredible job what this organization has done to just like rebuild for one season.
I know.
Boom, we're back. And I think even though the Patriots did splash all the cash in offseason, obviously with those 2 tight ends, Smith and Henry, with Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, and with Jude on the defense, who've all been big acquisitions, a lot of these we were saying, oh, they're overpaying. Oh, they shouldn't be spending this much money. They're not ready to compete. But they definitely have improved from last year. But even then, we didn't see this really as a team that would be 8-4 at this point. But they have been incredible. I think one of the main reasons is down to what a job Bill Belichick has done coaching this team.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, he's 70 years old. I mean, I think he's going to be 70 soon. And I think he should easily be a coach of the year at this point. Because, again, like Cian said, this team could arguably be 11-1, honestly. Because think of some of their wins. If Damian Harris doesn't fumble week 1 against the Dolphins, they'll win that game. Tampa Bay, if Nick Folk Nick Folk, if he doesn't hit the post on that field goal, they probably win that game. That's 10-2. And then the Cowboys, if they don't throw that pick to Trayvon Diggs, they probably hold the ball and they win that game. They could easily be an 11-1 team. They have played contenders, and they've played them well, and they've looked incredible, especially during this most recent stretch of 6 games won in a row. And what this team really reminds me of right now is not the Tom Brady teams of the 2010s where it was like their offense was doing really well and they had solid defense, but where almost it was a young quarterback like Mac Jones, like Tom Brady. I'm not saying Mac Jones is the next Tom Brady, but he kind of controls the offense, uses his weapons well, has a solid offensive line, a solid run game, a great head coach in Bill Belichick, and a defense that kind of carries the load. They keep their opposing offense off the field. They get Mac Jones and that offense on the field. They don't make many mistakes. That's like a classic Belichick team, and it's a team it is reminiscent of the early Pats dynasty 20 years ago. And the scary thing is, it could happen again. Obviously, I don't think they have as much talent as they did have 20 years ago. But the fact that we're even considering them arguably the best team in the NFL is amazing, considering what this organization is done in the last year to kind of rebuild the team. And I think it speaks a lot to kind of the culture of the team and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it just, even when we think last year Bill Belichick might be done, he comes back and does this. And if you are going to build a prototype with new players that is going to resemble somewhat the team that you did have, this is it. A quarterback who's not that mobile. Obviously, you can maybe compare him to young Tom Brady. Very, very good game manager, someone who can move the ball very well, not really interception prone. And then receivers where you don't have that top 10 guy in the league, but you have all of those, it's
solid weapons.
Very, very similar.
Like with Bourne,
Kendrick Bourne, Myers, Aguilar, literally, and this literally besides race, it's the same. Obviously they had Edelman and I was gonna say
Amendola.
I was about to say someone that lives in our town. I don't know why, not Chris Hogan. Why can I not?
Yeah, it was Chris Hogan.
It was Chris Hogan. That's what I thought. Yeah, I mean, they've been fantastic. And then to credit that, even more is you bring in Kendrick Bourne. That's definitely an Aguilar. And those are guys where it's like, yeah, those are good signings. I think when Patriots coming out of free agency, we were talking about like, yeah, they didn't make those big money moves. Like they're not going and getting Julio Jones, or they're not going and getting, those big name players that were in free agency last year, but they go get a Matt Judon who's been fantastic this year, which I think really that signing was so underrated. And then you go out and get Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, who haven't been good. They have not been fantastic. Hunter Henry has
been a solid touchdown.
Yeah, but I mean Jonnu Smith
more of the
40 targets and he has 40 targets, 25 catches for only 259 yards and only one touchdown. He's not been great, and I believe he's fumbled the ball. Yeah, and he's fumbled. And then you look at the rotation of running backs they have with Bubba Bolden, J.J. Taylor, obviously Damian Harris, and then
Ramondre
Stevenson, who's been fantastic, the rookie. And I think that's a big thing, hitting on some rookies, which have been great. Christian Barmore, someone who we haven't seen that much, has been great for them. So I think it comes down to that coaching, and then that just, they've, Belichick and this front office have been in the league or been employed, I guess that's the best word I can come up with, for so long. They know this game so well, and their drafting was fantastic. Stevenson, obviously Barmore in that first round was great, and then Mac Jones, where everyone was very scared that this would happen. When Mac Jones was picked, everyone was like, "Oh, yeah, there's no way, right? There's no way that he's the next Tom Brady." But
it's the perfect prototypical New England quarterback, someone who's very intelligent, kind of picks his spots, kind of uses the short mid-range game to kind of win games. He has those like receivers that they aren't elite receivers, the receivers that are good at getting separation and know where to be at the right time, like Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers have been this season, and they have a great solid tight end group with Hunter Henry. And I know Jonnu Smith hasn't been a great receiving tight end, but he's been instrumental part in the blocking game, especially run blocking, which is why Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, whoever the Patriots running back has been relatively solid. So I think, although I still think a lot of these guys, they were paid a lot of money, and maybe they could have gotten them for less, but they were smart pickups in hindsight, because all of these guys I feel like have played some sort of a role in putting New England back where they were 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. And again, I mean, you look at the stats, and the numbers just have been fantastic. You really look at the breakdown of Patriots against opponents, and they're better in everything. Total first downs, 258 to 215. Third down conversion, 69 to 55. Fourth down conversion, 4. It's just been great. And offensively, they've been outplaying 4,264 offensive yards to 3,800 by opponents. They've just been outplaying them. And I think it comes down to, we know Belichick can be very good, obviously very good when he has really good players. And then when he has, players that haven't been fantastic, obviously this roster, no matter how much we compare it to that Tom Brady, is not the same. Mac Jones is a rookie. This defense, I would say, is very, very good. It's not the same defense that it was that Super Bowl era with, Stephon Gilmore, namely, being there, and obviously the McCourty brothers. And it's, again, and I think it comes down to Suraj, as much as we want to credit to, Mac Jones has just been really, really good. And I think something we talked about off camera is Mac Jones. Like, we shouldn't be really surprised by Mac Jones. We knew this guy was going to be the best quarterback in year one. He was the most pro-ready. And I think that's a great point. Credit to Mac Jones. This guy, I would assume, probably won't be a top 5 quarterback in 3-4 years. I would think at least one of the other rookies that was drafted this year will become a starter and definitely shoot up. And I think it's helped him that all the other rookies have not been great, especially Trevor Lawrence, who, we assume to be the best guy in year one. But, I think Mac Jones is definitely, give him the credit, but we knew this. I mean, this guy was drafted like that. And I think Belichick, and that, there's a reason he drafted 2 Alabama players. He has that big connection with Nick Saban. He's always calling Nick Saban before he drafts Alabama players. And Nick Saban even said it on an interview. a lot of teams picked Alabama players and he didn't know why. He said Bill Belichick is one of the only guys who calls him and he gives him the right player. And I think that's worked out a ton. Obviously the chemistry between college and the pros. But again, Serge, when we go even more to contenders, right, a couple weeks ago saying that the Patriots could make the Super Bowl was a very hot take. Right now, I think that's a lot of people might be trending towards saying that. I think with the coaching veteran, I think the only thing stopping them is Mac Jones, which I know is definitely contradictory because he's been so good. But the playoffs is a whole different monster, Surge. When we go solely to contenders, what do you think the odds for the Patriots are? And obviously they have a bye week next week. Week 14 bye, so not next week, the week after. And then they have 5 games. I mean, do they win out? What is your prediction kind of, going into the back end of the season?
I think it's really interesting because we're seeing almost a funny thing that everyone presumed like these two teams, like the teams that kind of almost were like the face of the AFC, Kansas City, New England. We presumed them dead because they both had terrible starts of the season. And now they're starting to kind of come back and they're becoming almost the front runners in both of their divisions. New England have looked. I think Kansas City are probably the only team that I feel like has an argument to really beat New England in the playoffs at the moment, which obviously will change. But I think as for New England, their schedule isn't necessarily the easiest. But I think all of these games, especially the way they're playing, they are winnable. They play Buffalo away, which will be a tough game, but I think they can win that, given how they're playing, given how Buffalo are on a skid. Indianapolis away, I feel like is a very tough game because Indianapolis they're well balanced on both sides of the ball and running and passing the ball. Then they play Buffalo again. Then they end the season with Jacksonville and Miami, who Miami have improved recently, but they're still not great. And Jacksonville, as we know, are definitely a bottom feeder. So New England should easily make the playoffs at this point. And I think what really interests me though is again like how will they do in the playoffs? Because they could easily be a 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs. I think it wouldn't be a surprise to anyone. But again, it does come down to Mac Jones because, as you said, the playoffs are a totally different animal. You're playing top tier teams every single week. It's almost kind of a different atmosphere. It's always loud and crazy. Teams have seen you for a whole season. It's all that. It's so much more difficult. But if any kind of rookie quarterback I'd be confident it's Mac Jones. It's this guy because he's had to deal with a lot of pressure going in from the get-go, being compared to Tom Brady, kind of being tasked with reviving the Patriots dynasty, and kind of taking the team year 1 already to potentially a number 1 seed. So I think he really can handle it. But again, it is going to be difficult considering, again, on paper the Patriots aren't as talented as a lot of teams in the AFC, but it will not be a surprise at all for the Patriots to make it Super Bowl, and I think they deserve right now to be called a favorite in the AFC, considering the fact that they do have, I believe, the best point differential in the National Football League at the moment, which is incredible.
Yeah, I think, it's the NFL this year has been very, very much a confusing league when you get to the top because right now, I mean, as much as we can call the Patriots the best team, last year, the year before, we knew who the best team in the NFL was. This year, there's a good 4 or 5 teams who you think could be the best. I don't think right now. I honestly could not tell you with confidence who's the best team in the NFL right now. You can say the Bucs, easily. The Packers, the Patriots, the Cardinals, but like each team, goes up and then they go down. And I think it's the exact same with the MVP race, although Brady is kind of the front runner. It's there's a lot of this NFL season has been very, very competitive. And I think I love it. And I think that's what just benefits obviously good football. But in terms of them in the AFC, I think they could win it. Right now, I believe they're not tied for first, but the Ravens are 8-3 since obviously the Patriots haven't had their bye weeks. They're 8-4, but they are it's Ravens, Titans, Patriots. They're the top 3 teams. The Patriots winning wise are not behind. They are tied for first, but obviously since the Ravens have one less loss. So I think the Patriots are second, right? Because they beat the Titans.
They're second because they beat the Titans in a tiebreaker.
The Ravens did not look good last night. The Ravens looked pretty bad last night. Back-to-back picks.
Put them to be ahead of the Ravens in the season.
I mean, the Patriots having a bye is not at all a hot take. I think it's very, very likely. Look at the rest of their schedule. Playing the Bills, tough game. That could be one you drop. I'd say they probably split with the Bills. I don't think they would beat the Bills twice. Again, the Bills have been very, very much up and down, not the team we thought they would be. And then you look at the Colts. The Colts have been fantastic. I have to give them credit. Obviously, I did in our weekly predictions. Go check that out if you haven't. But yeah, I think the Patriots winning the AFC is in no way a hot take. But then when you go to the Super Bowl, I think it's a lot different. I think definitely the NFC, if you have to go face the Bucs, I don't see the Patriots winning that game. I think the Bucs are the one team where I really just can't see the Patriots overcoming. But again, they played them very, very well at home. So, it's again, I mean, I don't think any of these are necessarily hot takes. I think the Patriots right now are up there with one of the best. I think you could argue they're the best team in the NFL. But again, I think, right now, if you keep Mac Jones and you build up in the draft, I mean, this team the dynasty, or at least a contender in New England, is in no ways far away.
Yeah, of course, 100% agree. Because I think the scariest thing about New England is they're built for the present right now.
Yeah.
With some of the players, but they're also built for the future with young players like Mac Jones, Xavier Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Kyle Duggar.
Mm-hmm.
I think J.C. Jackson's pretty young.
J.C. Jackson, I believe, is 26, 27.
They are built for now and the future. They have the best defense in the league with a team that I don't think they have talent on defense, but they're not the most talented defense. But they still are. They have the best defense in the league. They have a top 10 offense in the league in terms of scoring. And
he's 26 years old.
They are a pretty relatively young team, which I think in the future they are built to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years. And that's the scariest part, because they're not even close to their potential, and yet they are the best scoring team in the NFL, which has been one of the weirdest NFL seasons in recent memory. Because even though the Patriots again have been so good this year, the weird thing is that I feel like anyone in the AFC could beat anyone, which is why I think the Patriots could go to the Super Bowl. At the same time, there's an equal chance they get knocked out in the first round, because it's been that weird this season. But I think, given the fact that seem to be them, and I guess the Chiefs right now are the two teams that seem to be getting hot in the AFC right now, I think those two teams have to be kind of at the upper echelon of the AFC. And I think with New England, you can never write them out. I think they have as good of a chance to make it to the Super Bowl as anyone.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to, again, the highest scoring offense and how it's been a weird season. You go back to what we talked about first, just, the overall talent on that offensive roster. I mean, the defense, I would say, talent-wise is better, but the offense, again, go look at it. Go look at the roster. It's not in any way some high-firing roster like we've seen from the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, which I think that will either hurt them or help them. I don't know how it would, help them again, but, I think it comes down to chemistry and just obviously Bill's Belichick regime, just, obviously putting them to work, and that, as much as people might hate Bill Belichick, and as much as you might, this guy is the best coach to ever coach in this league, and when he is a coach of a team, they have some talent, they'll be good, and I think that's what he's proven. I think Bill Belichick, last year everyone was kind of pushed him to the side, but he's come back and been. He's like, yeah, I'm here. Like, I'm still one of the best coaches. And I think people are saying it's Cliff Kingsbury and there's no race. And I think you could still think that. It's so funny because Cliff Kingsbury was like, all right, get him out a year ago. It's funny how things change. But I think Belichick definitely should be up there for Coach of the Year. I'm not sure how many times he's won it, but probably.
It's been because he's actually a victim of his own success, because he's done it so many times that it's just not even a special year. But this year, this could be one of his best coaching jobs ever, because what he's done with this team to take them to a potential number one seed in the AFC, with how we thought this would still be another transition year for the Patriots. It's one of the most impressive things.
I mean, it's much different doing it with Tom Brady after you win a Super Bowl and it's a dynasty and one of the best NFL teams you've ever seen. But doing it with Mac Jones and a young team is much different. I think that's what it comes down to. I think the chemistry, and I think, when you look at a good team, there are little things, their main players you touch on. But when you look at this Patriots team, it's across the board. They've just been performing and coaching well. So I think that's what it comes down to. But I hope you guys enjoy the video. Patriots, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Surprisingly, a lot of people have been watching our full videos. Like, it's funny because a guy actually just commented on our weekly predictions about the Patriots. What are you talking about? It's because we didn't get to the Bills-Patriots game because we ran out of time. So he was just talking about that. But yeah, we hope you guys did enjoy. If you made it to the end, congratulations. I honestly, I don't know how you did it, but yeah, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Follow us on social media. We post a lot on TikTok and on Instagram, more clips. And then obviously we post videos every day, draft and NFL season content. We do weekly predictions, mock drafts, reactions, news, everything like that. Yeah. Cian McDermott, Suraj, Kodali. We have other hosts on the channel, so make sure you stick around, subscribe. I don't remember the last time I've said that, but yeah, subscribe so you don't miss out. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.